Your credit score controls everything: loans, apartments, interest rates, even job opportunities. But most people have no idea how their score is actually calculated, and that confusion costs them money every single month. In this video, I will break down exactly how your credit score works in a simple, beginner-friendly way. And if you stick with me until the end, I will share a little secret that can boost your credit score with almost no effort, and in far less time than you think. So let's get into it. Think about someone you have been close to for years, maybe a friend you have trusted since high school or college. One day they call you and say, "Hey, my laptop just died and I really need it for real. Could you lend me $200? I will return it next month and I will even add a little extra for the trouble." Because you have known them for so long, you already have a pretty good idea of their character. You know whether they usually keep their promises, whether they have paid you back in the past, and whether helping them is a safe decision. Your history with them tells you whether you should lend them money or politely decline. Now imagine you're standing in line at a coffee shop and a total stranger turns to you and says, "I'm short on cash. Could you lend me some money? I will pay you back next month with some interest." You have never seen this person before. You don't know their habits, their job, their reliability, or even their name. Almost anyone would immediately say no. Not because you're rude, but because you have zero information to base a decision on. Believe it or not, this is exactly the position banks are in every time someone applies for a loan or a credit card. We walk in, fill out a form, and ask to borrow hundreds or thousands of dollars. And yet, in many cases, banks approve us without having any personal relationship with us. So what makes them confident enough to lend money to people they have never met? The answer is simple: your credit score. A credit score gives lenders a quick snapshot of how trustworthy you are when it comes to borrowing money. It's a shortcut that helps them predict whether you will pay back what you owe on time and in full. Before credit scores existed, lending was messy and inconsistent. Banks depended heavily on personal connections, word-of-mouth reputation, and gut instinct. If a banker didn't personally know you or your family, getting a loan was incredibly difficult. Your personal reputation was the biggest factor in whether you could borrow money. Today, your credit score has taken the place of that old-fashioned system. It's the primary tool lenders use to judge your reliability and decide your loan term. Your score is calculated from your credit history, your track record with past borrowing over the last several years. This information is collected and maintained by three major credit bureaus: Experian, FICO, and TransUnion. If your history shows consistent, responsible borrowing, you will earn a high score, making it easier to access loans with better interest rates. But if your record shows missed payments or financial trouble, your score will be lower, and borrowing becomes more expensive or even unavailable. When people talk about credit scoring, you will often hear two names come up with over and over again: FICO and Vantage Score. These are the two most widely used scoring systems. They both pull information from the same place: your credit reports from Experian, FICO, and TransUnion. But the scores they generate do not always match exactly. Why? Because each scoring model evaluates the same data slightly differently. Think of it like giving two painters the same canvas and the same set of colors. They might paint the same landscape, but their styles, brush strokes, and details will vary, even though the subject is identical. Both FICO and Vantage Score have gone through several updates over the years, and lenders sometimes use older versions depending on the type of loan. This happens most often in the mortgage world, where many banks still rely on older FICO versions because the housing industry tends to move slowly when changing standards. If you're familiar with software upgrades, it's a bit like using the same app on your phone in 2015 and again in 2025. It's still the same app, but new versions have better features, smoother performance, and updated tools, even if the basic purpose stays the same. Now let's talk about the range. The highest score you can achieve is 850 and the lowest possible is 300. If you don't have any active accounts or recent borrowing history, your score will show up as 0. Not because you have done something wrong, but because the system can evaluate you yet. Some people prefer having no credit score because they avoid debt entirely, but that approach can make life harder when you eventually need financing. Personally, I think it's smart to keep at least one well-managed account open, especially if it doesn't cost you anything, because it keeps your financial profile active. I do this myself by maintaining a couple of credit cards that I pay off consistently, often before the due date even arrives. There is a lot of debate about what counts as a good credit score, and different websites will give you different numbers. To keep things simple, here is the way I look at it. Anything above 650 shows you're on the right track, above 750 means you're doing excellent, and below 650 is a sign you need a bit of improvement. And if your score is lower than you would like, Don't worry, near the end of this video, I will share a little insider tip that can help you raise your score faster than you might expect, so be sure to stick around. There are 5 major things that shape your credit score, and each one influences your number in a different way. We will go through them step by step so you understand what they mean and how they affect your score. But let's start with the most important one. The biggest part of your credit score, about 1/3 of it, is based on whether you pay your bills on time. Credit cards, car loans, student loans, mortgages, all of these count. One late payment can pull your score down noticeably. Multiple late payments can do even more damage, and this mark stays on your credit report for up to 7 years. Lenders want proof that when they give you money, you will return it on schedule. And other large portion of your score comes from how much of your available credit you're using with credit cards. This is called your utilization rate. The less of your limit you use, the better your score tends to be. If you regularly use only a small portion of your credit limit, lenders see that as a sign of control and financial discipline. For long-term loans, making good progress on paying them down also works in your favor. This factor makes up a smaller portion of your score, but it still matters. The longer your accounts have been open, the better. Long-standing accounts help build trust because they show a consistent financial history. Closing older cards or paying off older loans can shorten your average account age, which might temporarily lower your score. Every time you apply for a new credit card or loan, a hard inquiry appears on your report. A few inquiries over time won't hurt much, but too many in a short period can make it look like you're desperate of credit. These inquiries stay on your report for about 2 years, although their impact fades over time. Lastly, part of your score comes from the mix of accounts you have. Lenders like to see that you can manage different types of credit, like a credit card, a car loan, or a student loan. You don't need every type of account, but having a healthy mix can give your score a small boost. If you're still here, great job. That means you're serious about improving your credit. So here's the bonus tip that a lot of people don't know about. You can boost your credit score faster by becoming an authorized user on someone else's credit card account. This could be a parent, a sibling, or a close friend you trust. You don't need to have their card or have access to it at all. Simply being added to the account can help your score in 3 different ways. It can increase the length of your credit history, improve your credit mix, and lower your overall credit utilization if the card has a high limit and a low balance. When done responsibly, it's one of the easiest ways to give your credit score a meaningful lift. If you have any questions about credit scores or anything I didn't cover, feel free to ask in the comments. I would be happy to help. Thanks for sticking around, thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.